All right, I had a request to do number 6 from this assignment, probably the hardest problem on the assignment, which is why I'm making it available to everyone, not just the breakout room that I ended up going into. So the problem is 4n over 6 minus 6n plus 6 over 5n plus 5. Doesn't look that intimidating. So when we look at this problem, first thing I'm going to do is look at this denominator. I can see that it's a binomial. I can see that it should be factored. So between 5n plus 5, the GCF is a 5. So that's 5 plus 1. Over here we've got a 6. So I can see that with my common denominator, I'm going to need a 6, I'm going to need a 5, I'm going to need an n plus 1. So that's a coefficient of 30, and then n plus 1 in parentheses. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and write down my first fraction, 4n over 6. And since we have the 6 on the bottom, that means that we need the 5, we need the n plus 1. Right? I'm going to go ahead and write down my second fraction, 6n plus 6, 5 times n plus 1. So since we have the 5 and the n plus 1, that means we need the 6. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and write down my two fractions. I have 6 times 5 is 30, so 30 times n plus 1. On the top, I have 4n times 5, which is 20n. That 20n is being distributed inside the parentheses. So I've got 20n multiplied by n, which is 20n squared, and 20n multiplied by 1, which is 20n. All right, and then over here I've got 5 and 6 multiplied together is 30, and plus 1. And then on the top I have a 6 being distributed. 6 times 6 is 36n. 6 times 6 is 36. All right. Now I can go ahead and write this as one fraction with the common denominator. So I'm just going to copy down that first fraction, and I'll distribute my negative. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and combine like terms. So the 20n squared is going to stay, the negative 36 is going to stay. My like terms are the middle. We have a positive 20 and a negative 36. That gives us negative 16n. Now at this point, I can see that this is a trinomial. I can see between all three of the numbers that they're kind of big. It seems like it might be a slide divide problem, but I know that before I assume it's a slide divide problem, I should check for a GCF. So I can see that between all of these, 20, 16, I can see it most clearly between those two, between 20 and 16. But between 20, 16, and 36, I actually have a GCF of 4. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. 16 divided by 4 is 4. And 36 divided by 4 is 9. So this problem is pretty much our worst nightmare, where we had a trinomial where we took the GCF out and it was still a slide divide problem. So that's what, like, not only do we have some big numbers here, but then it's a GCF and a slide divide all at once. That's what makes this problem so complicated, is that it's kind of like all the difficult things all together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that slide divide. Take the 5, slide it over to the -9. 5 times -9 is -45. So we're multiplying to -45 and we're adding to -4. The two numbers that multiply to -45 and add to -4 are -9 and +5. So we have n minus 9, n plus 5. Now the number that we slid was a 5. So we're going to divide by 5. 9 over 5 does not simplify, so that one's going to bottoms up. 5 over 5 does simplify, that's a 1. So this factor is 5n minus 9. That factor is an n plus 1. We still have that GCF of 4 in the front. So when I write this step down, I've got the 4 in the front, I have a 5n minus 9, and I have an n plus 1. And then I've got the denominator. Okay. So my n plus 1s can cancel. And then in the front, the 30 and the 4 and the 30, those don't cancel, but they are numbers that can reduce. They're both even. They can both be divided by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. I'm going to divide by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 30 divided by 2 is 15. So now, if I look at the back of my sheet, 2, it's the letter E. And that was problem number 6, and so above the 6, we're going to put an E. Whew, tricky.